An interesting thing, you can film this. Before we started filming, a man walked up to us, said he was interested in the car, and asked if I'm selling it. No, I'm not selling it. Hey guys, as of late, cars that cost up to 400,000 to 500,000 rubles have become very popular due to the crisis. People ask me all the time, what can I buy for this amount of money? And we constantly recommend the same cars, such as a Focus, an Almera, a Liceti, you know them. But today, I want to show you another car that fits the budget and is maybe even better than the previously mentioned cars. As you've already guessed, this is a Camry in a 30 body. This particular car is mine. It was bought in 2012. The mileage as of now is 470,000 kilometers. The car is fully functional, it's great. But as it was manufactured in 2002, due to its old age, this car has a lot of troubles, and that's why this car is not for everyone. I'm not saying that the car is in pristine condition. It's not like that at all. But this car is great and sturdy. It went through a lot of roads, and it will probably do the same amount in the future. Realistically, it can drive for about 500,000 kilometers, but experts know that they can drive for 700,000 to 1,000,000 kilometers and still stay intact. The most important thing in all of this is the maintenance of the car. Don't spare money and time on it. The maintenance is pretty inexpensive, but it is a foreign car. You won't be able to budget the maintenance like for a Lada, for example. The most interesting thing is that if you've seen our video on the Camry 40, we chose the top sedan. I've talked about the Camry 40 in that video. It's also very sturdy, reliable, and firm, and it clings to life very well. The same can be said about this car, and maybe even more so. The 30 model is the great-grandpa of the newer 40. All the weak spots that are present on the Model 40 are absent on the Model 30. This car is immortal, like the Model 40. I really like to talk about these kinds of cars, which people buy, and they don't feel sad that they bought something trashy. The saddest thing is that the Model 30 is a workhorse that was primarily bought by corporations and businesses to drive people to places. Because of that, they developed a gigantic mileage. It is almost impossible to find a Camry 30 with a mileage of less than 200,000 kilometers. The car was mass-produced, there were a lot of them made, and you can find one if you try hard enough. I bought it in 2012 for my mother. I wasn't doing car selection as a job, I was working in a car workshop. I examined it as thorough as I could. I didn't have a thickness gauge or special equipment, I was only using my eyes. I saw that it had repainted elements, but I saw that the main elements were intact and original, like the sills, the bottom side, the spars, all those parts were original. The roof wasn't repainted. But if you look at the rest of it, I think it will be seen on camera that the car is multicolored. It's repainted whole, and that's a fact. Its elements are covered in plaster here and there, and that's okay for a car like this. Because I don't think you can find a 30 model that's not repainted. It's not realistic. I couldn't find one. I went through a lot of cars but couldn't find one like that. It's not bad because the main focus is the body. The main thing you should focus on is the power components and the cosmetics. What can you do? Maybe it's even better when it looks bad. But here it's repainted and it looks fresher. This Camry has helped me out a lot. There were situations when I didn't have a car, and my mom always has a backup car. There were situations where I was driving this Camry. It comes to Moscow for the third time already. It was bought here, and I was driving it home from here when I bought it. Toyota lovers, myself included, will say that all left-hand drive cars are not Japanese. The real Japanese cars are all right-hand drive. But if you think about it, both right-hand and left-hand drive cars have almost 80 to 90% identical parts. If you look at Toyota, they are mad about unifying. The engine that we have here is a 2AZ engine. It's also present in a lot of other Toyota cars, like 20 models or so. And 70% of those are right-hand drive. Many people think that it should be immortal. I don't really appreciate those people that think, oh man, I bought a Toyota, now I can drive it till it drops dead. It doesn't work like that. Any vehicle requires maintenance. The maintenance of Toyota cars has always been cheaper, and a lot of nodes and power units are more durable. That's why Toyota cars are known as immortal. I replaced the struts once on this car, the stabilizer was replaced 2 times, the brake shoes were also replaced, of course, the liquids were replaced too. Not long long ago, Moscow had really cold weather. It was minus 28 Celsius and I needed to go somewhere. I didn't want to use my cars so as not to kill them, so to speak. I haven't used my Mercedes for a long time. I think I last drove it before New Year's. The 271 engine doesn't like cold starting and short distance runs. I'm really lucky to have this car because the Toyota is not that moody when it comes to cold starts. The engine doesn't suffer from them and doesn't die from them. I was starting it up and I was driving the car when it was minus 28, and as a result the spars started leaking, so now I need to replace all the spars here. I've already ordered them. They cost like 20,000. So if you look at the mileage of this car, it may have a lot of troubles in the future, troubles that many may not know about. For example, we had a problem with the steering cardan. On the steering housing, from the steering wheel to the steering rack, there are two cardans. They're there for you to regulate the steering wheel height. The second cardan is placed right on the rack because the steering housing is curvy as it is there. The antenna has an automatic drive, but when I bought the car, the drive was already slow, meaning it was working sometimes. It was freezing a lot. That's why I left it in this position and disconnected the drive. The radio works fine, there are no problems occurring, but the motor doesn't work. You can replace it, but is it worth it? I don't think you need to do that. I think if it's operating normally, it'll shoot up to here. And what do you need that for? For someone to break it off? These wheels are from a 20 model. They were bought. The original wheels are installed on the summer tires, and the 20 model wheels were bought from our neighbors. For some reason, they had these 20 model wheels lying around for a long time. We bought them for cheap and put them on the winter tires. Actually, this Camry is wearing its second set of winter tires since I bought it. Since then, it's driven for about 100,000 kilometers. Another thing I wanted to mention, a pretty important thing for some people, for me, for example, this car has a giant trunk. And if you take a look here, this trunk is full of things. I think many people will understand, especially people who almost live in their car like me. I spend more time in my car than I spend at home or in my office. I travel a lot. That's why I always have a lot of stuff in my car at all times. This is the only sedan that can fit its own wheels in the trunk. All 4 wheels fit in the trunk, and that's awesome. I was able to fit them inside. Let's see the inside of the car, and I'll tell you all about it. The most interesting thing about this car is that it has almost everything you need for a comfortable driving experience. It has climate control. It's just one zone, but still it's a full-blown climate control system. It has a light sensor, a rain sensor, power-fold mirrors. My Mercedes doesn't have power-fold mirrors because of the configuration, but still, this car has power-fold mirrors. It has an automatic window roller and cruise control. The cruise control of the 2.4 version, this particular one, you won't find on this car. If you take a look at the steering wheel, you won't be able to guess the mileage of this car. The steering wheel was bought separately because the original wheel was worn out so much that the metal was shining through. It was so worn out that it turned black and your hands would get stained all the time from it. It was braided, but even that was worn out when I bought it. And I decided to do what I did. I really like the functionality of cruise control and I wanted it for a long time. So I found a steering wheel with cruise control from a right-hand drive car, the same Camry, but a right-hand drive one. I just color matched it and installed it in my car. The cruise control as it is was just disabled from the assembly line. I put the steering wheel here and didn't do anything else, it just started working. The headlight washer is on a separate button. It's so cool when they do separate buttons for that. I can freely wash my windshield and the headlight washer doesn't consume any liquid. And when I need it, I just press a button and the headlights get cleaned. It's a really neat thing when you travel for long distances. It helps a lot, really. The pre-restyling version has a very plain instrument panel, and it's a bit sad because on the restyled version has Optitron. Optitron is when the dashboard is all black, and when you start up the car, it lights up. It lights up in 2 stages, first in the middle, and then the sides light up. It's really cool and really pretty. The climate control is really nice. The car is really warm. Another thing, this is a Japanese business class car. There's just one downside. The seat heaters just have one position. It's either on or off. For example, if you compare it to a Mondeo or to any other modern car, they all have a minimum of 2, 3, 4, or 5 positions, or levels of heating. Here, it's either on or off. This was a surprise for me when I first saw it because I wasn't expecting that from a Camry. From one perspective, the car is all cool and high-end, has a lot of functions, but from the other, the seat heating only has one option, but it's fine. The handbrake, or e-brake, is located, similar to a Mercedes, near your feet. And that's really cool, because we have more space here. The plastic is imitating wood here, but it's not even close to wood. It's painted plastic that looks like wood. It's not much, but it suits the interior of the car. The plastic here is a bit firm, it's not super soft, but it's not creaky at all. In this car, nothing squeaks or creaks. It's a thing in Toyota's cars. Every car I've ever driven, it's rare to hear a creak in the car. There's no Tiptronic in this car. You won't be able to change gears manually. There are just 2 and L modes where I can limit its gear changing. Overall, I just put this thing into drive mode and just drive. The automatic transmission has 4 gears, the 241, as I said, the E version. It's cool and really soft and reliable. The gear shifts are super smooth. When I go into drive mode in the spot after parking, there are no jolts. When I go into drive mode, I can feel the car tense a little. Even my Mercedes jolts. This Camry doesn't. This car has everything you need. It has an onboard computer that shows the fuel consumption rate. By the way, the fuel consumption is a whole nother story. The engine's 2.4 and it consumes 11.8 liters when driving in the city. 11.7, 11.8, and that's a normal fuel consumption rate. Sometimes the number increases. For example, now we were standing here and warming up, the fuel consumption rate has gone up 12.9. I reset it yesterday. I think it's a great fuel consumption rate for this big and comfortable car. The sound insulation in this car is better than in a lot of modern cars. It's better than the Skoda that I've owned, and it's at the same level as the Mercedes. Why at the same level? The arches are soundproofed better than on the Mercedes. You can't hear the road much here, but the engine is soundproofed worse than on the Mercedes. I can hear the engine and the gearbox louder than on the Mercedes. Overall, when it comes to the soundproofing, it's kind of the same. I think the Mercedes is a little better, but as you can see, the windows aren't tinted, and by the way, it's an enormous plus. Why do I use this car more than the Mercedes? When I drive the Mercedes, all the cops stop me. I was very surprised when I decided to drive the car right after I bought it. I was driving in the city in the evening to avoid traffic and just enjoy the ride. And the first traffic cop stops me. When I was driving home to Nerlat, I was stopped 3 times. I haven't been stopped so many times in my life. I've noticed that in Moscow, a Mercedes for a traffic cop is like a red flag for a bull. This car means that the guy has a good income, they think like that. Or they think that if you press the person hard enough, you'll get some money out of them. I don't really know the logic behind it, but they sure are attracted by the Mercedes. This Camry is not attractive at all. When I drive this Camry in Moscow, I'm not appealing to anyone, and the windows aren't tinted. What about the engines? Which engines are installed? This car had 3 engines, 1AZ, 2AZ, 2 and 2.4 respectively, inline 4s, and the 1MZ, 3MZ. It's a V6 engine, which is 3 and 3.3 liters. Another drawback is that the seats are really comfortable and soft. When you drive for a long time, you don't get tired. Me in particular, my body is very cranky when it comes to long distance driving. On the road, I get tired really fast. In this Camry, I get tired less frequently, even compared to the Mercedes, but the seating configuration is a bit stiff. It's a little like the Tucson seating. What is the drawback when compared to the Mercedes? Even if you put the seat all the way back, my legs are still bent like this. I can't stretch my legs here. They're always bent at the knees. And the steering wheel, the reach can't be adjusted, only the height. The armrest is really comfortable. It's very soft and wide. It's really cool and comfortable for the hand. It's really comfortable to sit here. If I weren't so tall, if I were shorter and I didn't have any problems, say with my legs bending, the seating in this car would be perfect. I put one hand on the armrest on the door. It's perfect, not like on a Pajero. The Pajero has really narrow armrests on the doors, and my arm is always slipping off of them. Here, it's perfect. And we have a wide armrest here. The seating is perfect. I'm really comfortable. The interior is made of leather, it's light and neat. The car has power adjustment of both front seats. One more thing, the seat on my side is all eaten by dogs. Well, the dogs that were eating them had no teeth, and the seats don't have any holes in them. They're rather just chewed a bit. There are no holes yet. This side has a number of cracks there and maybe a tear. It's faux leather where the tear is. It's not real leather, it's fake. But overall, the seats are not worn out to shit. The Saab with a mileage of 600,000 kilometers, the seats were thrown out because they looked horrible. Here, you don't have the same picture. My mom was the driver. She's really thin, so she wasn't wearing out the seat much. Before her, there was another woman. Maybe due to this factor, the seats are in such good condition. It's not great, but it's not bad either. What are the pros of the Camry? The car can be a European, an Arab, an Arabian, from Singapore, and of course from Japan. The most interesting thing is that I have a worn out seat here. And if I go to a disassembly and find a seat from an identical right-hand drive car that is from Singapore, for example, by the way, Singaporean models are always going for scraps as a rule, or a Japanese car. I'm monitoring the ads for a long time and I find the same interior as my car for sale because most of their cars had a black interior for this model. If I find a light interior for sale, I'll go there and buy one seat and replace it. I'll exchange their seat for mine. The same thing with electrical drive. It's pretty great. When I do that, I'll have a fresh interior. The steering wheel already looks new here, but the gear shifter is pretty worn out. The air conditioning, I don't know how it works, how they match it for this interior, but if I turn on the AC during the summer, I can probably grow icicles out of the vents here. The cooling effect is really strong. The spare capacity of the air conditioning on this car is insane. I've never seen one like this before. Why is this car not of legendary status? I'm really sad that it's not of legendary status, but it is legendary. The 124 Mercedes is legendary, the E34 BMW, the 45 Audi, and so on. Even the Saab is more legendary than this Camry. Anyone who doesn't agree with me, just think about it and you'll probably change your mind. Why? These Camrys don't spark any emotions, unfortunately. I'm trying to find some kind of an idea, some kind of emotion that this car gives out, but this Camry doesn't spark any emotions. It's a simple, good, reliable, calm car. It doesn't have any obvious bumps, any, what do you call it, roughness, no obvious reasons that you can love or hate it for. I want to love this car, I really do. I have warm feelings for it, but I can't say that I'm a fan of this car. It's a really good car. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to belittle it. It's very reliable, it's really comfortable. But it's so flat. It's so uncharismatic. The Skoda is a really outstanding car. It's colorful. It has character. The Skoda has character, the Octavia RS. The Mercedes has character, a different one from the Skoda, but it has one. But this Camry has no character to it. It's spineless. It's not bad, because many people don't care if a car has character or not. For example, if you're 40 or older and you need a comfortable car, why do you need a car that is also going to give you some kind of emotions? You've already got enough from your life if you're 40. This car will get you from point A to point B without any problems, and it'll be comfortable and amazing. I've had a lot of experience with a different car, and I've had a feeling that I know when the car needs something. For example, my yellow Skoda or the Mercedes are very moody. I can feel when they need something. For example, the yellow Skoda is like a girlfriend. It craves attention. It wants me to spend time with it one way or another. It wants me to love it. It wants me to treat it somehow. The Mercedes is the same. It's a bit different, but it still requires attention. It craves attention. It needs you to pay attention to it. The Camry doesn't. It's really weird, but the car resembles a servant. A servant. My mom calls it a mouse. I didn't quite understand why she called it that, but now I do. It's silent. It's mute. It's working in the field, and you don't even know if it's hungry or full. Does it want to eat or drink? anything. It's silent. This car starts and drives regardless of the state it's in. It can be on the edge of dying, and still it will be able to start and drive. It will work till the day it dies. Like a servant. A servant has no right to speak, and this car is just like that. This was a peculiar review where I stated just what I think about this car. I think the information got to the people that needed it, and that they've developed an opinion of their own about it. I've been working really closely with this car, and I'll say it again, this car is awesome and reliable. If you want to buy this type of car in the future, you can without hesitation. Just be vigilant when picking the car to buy. My opinion is this: the car selection needs to be thorough, because even a good car can disappoint you if it's all worn out. This is a car from the past, from the previous era. A lot of cars survived until the present day. Sadly, I don't know the batch number of this particular car, but I think that at least 500,000 cars are still driving through cities all over the world. So, if you like this video, smash the like button. I'll see that you like the content and proceed to make more videos like this. Bye, everyone.